Hi, everybody, and welcome once again to Cosmic Guardians with brilliant hosts Care'n Mooney and Anne. And I'm Anne. You probably can see my name anyway, and we are the funny ones once in a while. Today it's Wednesday, May 8th, and my gosh, we are almost coming half year this 2024. You're watching Cosmic Guardians with me and Corinne, and we are coming to you live. Anne is coming to you live from Stockholm, Sweden, and Corinne is coming to you live from Arizona, Mesa, Arizona, to be honest. And we intend to be live with you every week. And last week we actually had a pre-recorded video. That will happen once in a while as well, right? Mm-hmm. So usually this time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 12 noon Central time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Sweden, and 8 p.m. Greece. And today we will talk about the art of self-love and self-acceptance, not to take things personally. I think this is a great topic, actually. And last week, we talked about why do we resist living in the now? That's another great. It's like a chain of topics coming along. So good morning, my beautiful co-host, Corinne. How are you?
I am doing marvelously, and good morning to you. And it is getting a little warmer in Arizona.
I bet it is. Do you want to recap a little bit about last week's show for us?
Last week. And okay, as you said, all of these are blending in together. And they are so vitally important because each kind of builds on the other. And it's interesting because I was going to say that at the end of the program, that intentionally, the universe is intentionally putting these together. This hasn't been something that we sat down and said, okay, we're going to tie all these together. But living in the present moment is when you really find you're living in self-love, because you're not attached to anything in the past and you're not projecting into the future. And you're just in that moment with self and with being. And that's where all the power is. That's where all the fun stuff is in the moment.
That's wonderful, and it is actually because the spiritual path, even though it contains so many things and topics, they are all connected. And we are all connected.
Yes.
So we have someone already saying good morning. Good morning, Miss Wanda.
Wow. And good
Happy
morning.
To see you.
Yes, good morning to you too.
So I'm just going to say good morning in the post. And we are broadcasting in our Cosmic Guardian page, on our Cosmic Guardian page. And we are also broadcasting on YouTube for convenience of people who don't have Facebook. Actually, there are a few people who don't. So I think this topic today, we probably have been touching the topic, and it's interesting. And I have to say, sorry for my voice. Even healers get knocked down sometimes. It's a lot of pollen here in Sweden, and I usually don't have a trouble, but this year I do have. So I'm trying to sound good anyway. But self-love, it's so important. It's so immensely important. And as you say, Corinne, it's an art, actually, to be honest. I always state that the most important relationship we have, it is with ourselves. And to make a serious joke, it is for a lifetime. It is.
Very much so.
Yeah, from the time we step into this world until we leave, then of course at a soul level we still continue that thing, but the soul has a different perspective anyway. So it's not as much trouble on the other side, in my way of seeing things, perceived things, right? So we talked about perception as well, right? See, everything is coming back and forth. And what does it really mean, loving yourself, Corinne?
That's a big one. Um, so much of it is self-acceptance, and which we're going to be speaking about. Also, being able to let go of other people's perception of us, and we've been living under that thumb for a very long time, and and finding a way to let go of that and bless it and go on. Because when you open up to your true identity, marvelous things happen. Marvelous things happen.
Yes, and because when you do open up to start with yourself, and I have to say also that this world usually teaches us not to be selfish, not to be egoistical, not putting ourselves first, but it's really not in essence egoistical to do that, because when we have that within here, we are radiating the very same love towards others, and we have much more to give as well. It's like that by itself is a chain, right?
And self love is not egotistical, and it's not self serving. Um, it is finding who we truly are. And when we have that kind of love inside, then we don't have to impose things on other people. We're not looking for it. We're not looking for it in achievements or in a sports trophy or in approval from people, because we already have that within us. And therefore, it is not selfish and it is not self serving. It is just the opposite. It allows us to be compassionate and giving, because we know that we always have that. We don't have to find it somewhere else. So we have so much to give and we can keep giving, and it just keeps moving.
Exactly. And self-love doesn't mean to have an attitude towards others or think that you are a besserwisser, like we say here, like you know it all. And when you do it, when you really truly love yourself, you have more patience also with others. You don't really judge because you can see things from a higher perspective, and you
Exactly.
dare to do that, right?
Yes. And you're not in competition. You're not in competition. And when you take that out of the equation and you can be really yourself, it allows you to, again, there, that perception of how you see yourself is how you see others. And so there's no reason to put people down. It's that you came here to uplift. And when you are in that wonderful self love, you can inspire others to be better themselves. And it's a whole different way of living. And it's a whole lot of fun, too. Got to have
It's
fun.
a, it is a whole lot of fun, to be honest. And when you love yourself means also that you accept yourself just as you are. And we all have our good sides and things that we may feel we want to work with, but you can still love yourself
Yes.
for who you are, exactly who you truly are. And you said something interesting, because I encounter this question a lot, um, when it comes to love and relationship. And I do understand, because each and every one of us wants to find a person to share life with, right?
Mhm.
But when we are unfinished in here, it's harder for us to actually attract that person who are going to mirror those things we are looking for, right?
Hmm.
So therefore, there's a start. We need to start from within, right?
Yes. When my children were getting to the age of dating, I told them, I said, you have to know yourself first and become yourself before you can be part of another person's life. And there's always a lot of books that say, that we are the better half, or we are the wing to a person with a broken wing. You don't want that. You want to have your own wings, your own reality, so that you
Yes.
can bring a whole person into the relationship. And a relationship isn't two half people getting together to make a whole. It's two whole people coming together to make a third entity called the relationship. And it is so much more rewarding and a lot richer when you come in as a whole person. And self love is the beginning of all of this. And it's
Yes.
interesting because I love to go back to babies because they are our teachers. I think it was created that way so we can go, oh, we need to learn that. But a baby comes in perfect, and they don't have any judgments of themselves. They marvel at their fingers and their toes, and when they discover their nose, they're just ecstatic until they reach a certain age when society, family, belief systems are told that they are wrong in their perception of themselves. And we're carefully taught to believe that another person's idea of us and how we should do things and who we should like, because they're in authority, we assume that that is how we're supposed to live. Little simple things like, as a child, we may be drawn to a person and we may not want to be near a person. And we're told, don't be shy, go talk to that person. But our instincts, all of our senses are saying, danger, danger. And we're told not to trust them. So
Yeah.
we grow up depending on other people's opinions. And this is where, when you start changing your mind and changing your perception of yourself and trusting yourself, that's where the beauty is.
Yeah. And I have a few memories. I'm not going to go into details, but I remember things from when I was a child. I grew up, I think I've said that before, with my great grandmother, born in the late 1800s, right? So have a few years of time here, 1800s, 1900s, and 2000. So it's funny, but I come from a very, very modern family, but I think it helped me a lot. But had a lot of confidence when I was a child. They gave it to me, they helped me. So I knew I like this person, I don't like that person.
Yes.
And no one really did force me. I remember my uncle had a friend, and he was very fond of my mom, right? But he tried to reach my mom through me, but I didn't like him. And I hope he forgives me, and I know he did. Um, because there's really not anything wrong with him. It doesn't mean that there is anything wrong with the person, but we may not feel that we are in alignment with them, right?
Yes.
And that's another part of coming from non-judgment, because someone else may have a different way of expressing things or doing things. It doesn't mean that we right and they're wrong, but we are also taught very strongly that we are supposed to come from that mindset that the way I'm doing things, that's the right thing, right? But there are a million things of doing, million ways of doing things.
Always, and thank goodness. It's I like to use the reference in traveling. There's a lot of different ways to get to your destination, and none is better than the other. It's just preferred. You prefer that to fly, or like on a donkey. You sent that beautiful thing from Greece. The uh, the herb. What is it?
Greek Uber.
Great, yeah. Greece's Ubers, yeah, and it's on a donkey, and so there's all different ways to move into the direction that you want to go, and along the way, that's the joy because you're learning and exploring, and but it all comes from finding that strength within yourself to say, this isn't working for me. Something is not quite in sync. And how do I find myself? And finding yourself is a journey in itself, but it allows you to develop along the way and start trusting yourself and moving forward.
Yeah. A lot of people also ask, if I feel this way, is there anything wrong with me? No, it's not. Because we can feel things. It doesn't mean that we do it with an attitude, but we need to hear ourselves. And sometimes in life when we have big decisions to make, it's a good thing to go within, to listen, spending time with yourself. Because when we are, and we are taught this also, right? We're going to be open, we're going to express everything, we're going to talk about everything. And that's good by itself, but not forever, right? Not remaining in the loop of the problem itself, but going within and listening and really finding the answers because we have them within. Sometimes that takes a little bit of time. Sometimes it goes very, very fast. But when we are continuously listening to others' opinions of how we should approach something or what we should do or not do, we're not going to hear ourselves, right?
Correct. And that when we were speaking about the self mastery, that is part of mastering self is learning that we alone will actually come up with the solution, but we need to get into that quiet space, into that 90% of our being that is still, because that's when we can decide what is correct for us. And listening to our own bodies, when you get funny little hairs on the back of your neck that stand up, or when your stomach is churning and you try to convince yourself, oh, well, this is going to be good for me. I can do this. I can make it. You're actually talking against your self-love because you're trying to tell yourself this isn't good for you. And we go, didn't hear you. What was that? Static, I guess. And but getting into that quiet space is where you connect with yourself.
Exactly. And also when you start to find yourself and start to accept yourself, and you start the art of loving yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you don't search outside anymore, as you said, but you don't also think that everything happening out here is related to you. So you don't take things personally as well, right? And I think that's important too.
Mm-hmm. And not taking them, taking responsibility for them. Uh, you can only be responsible for yourself. I mean, the ability to respond. That doesn't mean I have the ability to respond to what you're feeling or what your emotions are. I can only respond to what mine are. So, not assuming the responsibility to be fixing everything or not listening to yourself, the greatest responsibility is to yourself and understanding that you're on this journey and moving into it, arms open, and and each yeah, and each thing that we each time that you do, your perception of who you see yourself will become clearer and clearer. And it all
Yes.
works together because that leads you to self mastery. And self mastery is just being able to make these decisions without the influences of others, without the pressure of others, and uh,
Yes.
and that's an art. That's where we start, with the paintbrush and putting our own colors in, and so on and so forth. Yeah,
Yes. And, realizing that each and every one of us are worthy of the self love. We are worthy. If anyone has any other opinion, okay, let it be theirs. That's okay. Because when you love yourself, you wouldn't ever say to anyone, you're not worthy of something, right?
correct. Because when you love yourself, you're so full of genuine self love that you don't need to take it from someone else. And therefore, you have an abundance to be able to share. And each person that you speak to, that you may inspire, you've given them a gift of opening their own soul. And it's a lot easier to have a word of encouragement than it is discouragement. And yet, society teaches us that you learn better if the hard hand comes down and they keep telling you, that you didn't do well, you got to do better, rather than, wow, you're on your way. And and have that as our inspiration rather than what we didn't do. Um, Interesting thing I saw on Facebook, and it said, a butterfly never sees the beauty of its own wings, but we as humans can see the beauty in their wings. We as humans can see the beauty in another person. And if we bring that spark out, what we have given them is life. And I can personally say that having been doing all the things I've been doing, but never really seeing from another person's perspective that I was contributing to the betterment of things. And having this person say, I see you. I see what you're doing. I I respect what you're doing. And I'm going, well, I'll keep on doing it because I'm inspired.
That is absolutely beautiful. And I think that is the best thing we can give someone else as well, right? Because
Yeah,
when we love ourselves, we are also coming from that place within where we are more giving. It's a natural thing.
it is.
And I don't feel really, I think because if we go back to the soul, uh, which has a very different perception, no conventions, no written or unwritten rules about how to cope with things or behave or whatever it is, right, that we have in this world. When we go beyond this world, coming back into the core of ourselves, there's really no judgment towards anyone, right?
Correct. Correct. And there again, that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And when someone is seeing the beauty in what they're looking at instead of seeing the flaws, that gives the person a whole different way of looking at things. And I think it's beautiful what the Chinese do. When something is broken, they mend it with gold, and they appreciate that broken vase, and it's got all these little things where it was broken, but it's mended with gold because it's pulling itself back together. They don't say it's old, it's broken, it's gone. They say in its imperfection, it is
Yeah,
perfectly perfect.
exactly.
That's right.
And it reminds me of something, because we are so fixated sometimes with age. First of all, I'm a big baby, so age is just a number. First of all, right? And um, for me, and maybe that's personal for me, but I find beauty in seeing a face that is mature, that shows off maybe a little bit of wrinkle here and there, because it shows that person has a vast experience of life that cannot be bought with any money or anything else in the world, right?
Yes, and I've earned every one of these wonderful, you know, uh, badges of moving through life.
Me too.
And I'll say to people, it took me a long time to look this good. So, I've been working on it for many, many, many years.
We are two then, right? And I bet
Oh, yes.
there are many others out there too, right? But I think it shows off beauty. And many times in this world, we are asked the question, would you like to be 20 again? And I say no, because yeah, maybe my body would like it, but I wouldn't have an experience. So no, I wouldn't like to go back that far.
No, it got to keep moving forward because there's so much more out there to grasp, so much more to experience, and and life is an adventure. And when you have gotten rid of the heavy burden of other people's expectations, other people's drama and trauma, and begin to live from this place of freedom, more and more adventures open to you, more and more possibilities. And you find yourself looking and doing and seeing things in such a different way that you might have missed if you hadn't had the other experiences. So anytime that you move from the past, you want to bless what you've learned, literally, because they were gifts that were given to you to get you to the present. But you don't
Yes.
have to go back and unpack all that stuff every single day. You know, it's like when you throw it away, leave it in the garbage. Don't go rooting through the garbage again. It's going to smell
Exactly.
really, really bad.
Exactly. You know what I always say? The past cannot come back to you unless you invite it.
Exactly.
It's that simple, to be honest.
That's
It
exact.
doesn't mean that we forget everything, but we're not dwelling in it, right?
That's right. Uh, I mean, it's like if you learn how to ride a bike, and then every single day you go out and you go through all the trauma of learning how to ride a bike again. What good is having learned it? And so the perceptions that people have that they expect us to do as we move into this world uh, may or may not come out in accordance to them, but that's not really theirs to have
No,
because
exactly.
our soul came here to do what it came here to do. And by sticking in a bad relationship or sticking in a bad job or by thinking that we're not worthy to move forward, that is denying the people that we may touch. So, in a way, by not moving forward, we're denying all.
Okay. You're cutting out a little bit.
Okay, am I there?
Yes, I see. I hear you. Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's okay, I think. Yes.
Well, I just sometimes overpower the electrical things. I'll back off a little bit.
No, that's okay. Perfect. And it's suffering usually, I don't say that is always the case, right? But it's usually connected to us resisting something. And when we are in resistance, we are actually putting ourselves a longer period of time in the same state that where we are, right?
Yes.
Because we are afraid of having a look. We are afraid usually. Yeah, I say usually because maybe it doesn't apply to everyone all the time, right? But um, we are afraid of if we have a look, it's going to be overwhelming, and we're going to maybe step into depression, getting sad, not being able to cope, or whatever it is we are fearing, right? Fear is a big thing in this too. And when we let go of resistance and we actually take a look, even if it's extremely uncomfortable sometimes, we release resistance. That is how we can journey forward.
Yes. Um, Once a month, I go back to this place where they offer services that people can come in and try. You know, from reflexology to counseling and so forth. And when they come past me, and I'm sitting there with a person in my chair, because of the connection that we have, you can see the change on that person's face. And people will stand there wondering, and they'll ask my friend Roxy, what is she doing? And they're just like, they see the difference. And I've had so many people sit in my chair and they said, well, I'm kind of afraid. And I said, afraid of what? Of what you might say to me. And I don't say anything to them. What I'm doing is I'm interpreting what they're trying to say to themselves. But there's that fear that I may have to change. And I'm going to resist it because this is what I know. And so this is what I'm going to hold on to. And it's interesting because in the Matrix, there was that comment with the fact some people don't want to be unplugged and they will resist it to their death because they're so afraid of what they might see, not realizing that they might see beauty. It's not going to necessarily mean, you're going to have to go out and lose 10,000 pounds or something. So they're so used to the negative that they don't realize that the positive can come in there. So, yeah, we do resist.
Yeah. And sometimes the negativity that we may be used to, it's simply familiar. Because in order to let go of resistance, we need to let go. And that's scary sometimes. So if I let go of what I think I know that I've always had, what am I going to become?
And why is it that as we get older, we have more and more resistance of trying something new? Yes, we've had experiences where, yeah, if you get too close to the cliff, you might fall off, and those are good because they keep you physically alive. But where is that awe and that wonder of what comes next? Let's jump off the mountain. And when I was in Peru, and I'm 65 years old at the time, and I see they're parasailing, and I always wanted to do that. And my friend says, well, they're right over here at the park. And all of a sudden, I'm strapped to a man, and he says, run. And I'm running. And all of a sudden, there's no more cliff. And whoosh, we're flying. And I'm going, how wonderful. Uh, didn't realize, though, I hadn't asked, what do we do when we land? So after this beautiful experience, I'm coming in, I'm going, the land is getting a little closer. What are we going to do? And he just says, run. So I ran, and then he stopped. But if I hadn't taken that experience and just tried it,
Yeah.
I would have missed a beautiful experience. So yeah.
Good on you. And, my mom came and saw me, and this is probably many, many years ago. She saw me in Greece. She came to visit. And because I used to do scuba diving with tubes and everything, nothing is holding me back, right? So she wanted to try, but she didn't have the education. You need a certain education, right? So we knew a place where you could scuba dive for a few hours, and they had all of these people helping out, and they instructed for an hour before, right? And she had to visit a doctor on a ship before, at that place. And I think she was 55 something, plus minus. And the doctor said, looked at me, because the doctor spoke English with me and I translated. He could speak English as well, but not that good. He looked at me and he said in Greek, he said, and what is she going to do scuba diving her age?
Oh,
I said, don't ever say that to my mom. Because that's, someone's idea, opinion.
mhm.
Why shouldn't we? If
Yes,
we don't have any health troubles or anything else, that is obviously maybe a good advice to not do it. Why should we?
correct.
Why not try?
Well, I noticed that I didn't tell my children that I jumped off a cliff until I got back into the States. Because I had my youngest daughter, when I told her I was going to Peru, and she says, well, who are you going with? I'm going by myself. Well, you can't do that. Why not? You know? So off I went. And I would have missed out on so many marvelous things had I just not been tenacious and stubborn enough to follow what my self love was telling me. And,
Exactly.
you know,
And when we are loving ourselves and when we feel the confidence, and sometimes people can feel that it's like climbing a mountain, like Mount Everest or whatever, to find that confidence within our self-love. How can we reach that point?
reaching
That was
that,
a hard question.
yes, you like to zing me with these. Finding self love is a little bit of a journey, and it's just sometimes learning how to say the word no. That's spelled N-O, not at this time. Setting boundaries on what you will say yes to. Oh, well, you've got, can you do this? Can you do this? Oh, yes, 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 because we want to fit in. But realizing that that's imposing maybe on our time or something that we had to do, and we're going to have to make all the adjustments to make it happen. And simply learning how to set your own boundaries. And it comes just in gradual little things. And then one day you wake up and you go, wow, I don't have to do that. I choose to do that. And and the biggest thing is learning to be aware when you make these changes and giving yourself a nice little gold sticker right on your forehead. I did that, you know, and we forget to reward ourselves. And rewards are good, you know?
Rewards are beautiful. We
Yes,
should do that. And we should actually, and I think that Louise Hay started with this years ago, looking in the mirror, talking to yourself. And that can be hard by itself for some people to
yes,
really see themselves.
yeah. To say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself. And Louise Hay put out this song that, and I think I've said it before. I love myself the way I am. There's nothing I need to change. I love myself the way I am, but I can still rearrange. And this is beautiful, and getting to that point because it's taken away from us, and then we don't feel that we have any value. We're not worthy. Um, we're not lovable. And these are things that we perceive from what other people are telling us and showing us. So until we take a handle on that and go, hey, this is different. This is how I truly feel. But you have to recognize when you do these little accomplishments and go, "Ah, there's one for me, you know."
Yes, because many times, and this is something I hear a lot from people too, I hear they have a lot of patience outwards towards others,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of understanding, patience, love in some way, may it be conditional or unconditional, right? But a lot of patience. But when we can turn that also towards ourselves, because we are worthy of that attention from ourselves. So if we are expecting it from the outside and we continuously searching for it, and many who are looking for the perfect partner, they have a list. I want this and this and this and this and this and this. But you need to be it also first, so you can attract that which you so deserve and so want, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You can't just expect another person to fulfill what you think that you desire if you're not willing to do your own homework. And that is in a lot of relationships when I realize that I'm working on myself. I'm diligently working on becoming a better version of myself. And if the person that I'm interested in has no desire to move into a truer self of them and become a better human being and a better at everything that they're doing, um, they still have homework to do. I'd rather do my homework and get on with it and find someone that's also done their homework. Now, that doesn't make them bad. That doesn't make them imperfect. That just makes them their journey. And I accept that their journey is their journey. And that's a lot of it too, is realizing that we may be all going down the same path, but some people are walking backwards, some people are zigzagging, some people are taking 5 minutes over in the forest to look at stuff. But we're all heading the same way. It's just in our own pace. And
Exactly. And I'm going to come back to that when we are searching things in someone else to fulfill us, right? Which can never come from the outside.
right.
And that's the essence of what we have been talking about. But it's also like when the other person is not maybe reacting or behaving, um, there's a tendency among many to turn that into themselves. And there's something wrong with me. They don't call me because they don't like me. They don't want to spend time with me because I'm weird, or they don't see anything good in me. Things of that nature, right? How can one deal with those things?
Oh, you threw me another zinger, didn't you? Being honest, being really honest in saying to yourself, I understand that, let's say this person, I met a person that I was very attracted to, and we could have had a wonderful relationship. However, he smoked, and I'm allergic to smoke. Now, I wasn't going to tell him he had to give up smoking in order to be with me. I just said, this is not something I'm going to be able to live with, and I'm going to let you find somebody that you're more suited with. And I was willing to do that, because to try and change somebody, especially if they're not ready for that change, or even if they are ready for that change, you have to let them change at their own pace. And trying to mold somebody into something you want, it's never going to work. And listening, because a person usually is very honest with you. And if they say, well, I will never do this. Like, for instance, have children. And they're adamant about that. This idea of, oh, well, if they love me, they will. No, why would you put yourself in that situation?
Yeah, I actually have a funny old experience of that. I met someone, and he was falling in love with me, and he said, "You are going to be the mother of my children." And I said, "If you really want children, because I don't have any children, right? I have a history not being able to. It's not anything that's hurtful for me. Actually, it was at a certain point, but it's not anymore." But he didn't listen. And I said, "You know what? He tried with everything. We can go, we can make therapies, we can do this and we can do that." And I said, "You know, you should have listened when I said to you, if it's important for you to have kids, I'm not the right person for you."
Hmm.
Because I think it comes down to having the courage to be very, very genuine, you know.
Exactly.
And sometimes people have actually called me blunt. But if that's what it takes, maybe it's better sometimes. It doesn't mean that we always, but hey, we can just be who we are. And the benefit of being as genuine as possible is that you are not going to end up for a long term with people in relationships or in any other way if you find out from the beginning that you don't really connect in that way because you have different goals, right?
And unfortunately, sometimes all the things that you say, it ends up where you do have to be blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
because they resist the fact that this is not going to be. And but when you start accepting yourself and realizing that there are parts of you that need to be really explored, and you have to be available to share this with other people. You need to be very honest with someone, that this is my life, and you're welcome to go alongside with me, but it can't be consumed. And
Yes.
and that accepting yourself and understanding that this is what I'm capable of and this is what I'm not capable of. That's there again, just setting boundaries. And
Yeah.
that is the ultimate of self-love. Is
Yeah.
what was
And
that word again? No.
no. And I think it's beautiful actually, because if you know certain things, sometimes we don't know this, like what I talked about from a young age, right?
Hmm.
But sometimes we do. But when we are trying to be as genuine as we can, it's going to be easier. Um, it's much easier because as human beings, many times we do complicate things. And many other times also, when it comes to friendships, relationships, we want to consume, like you said, um, and we want to own that person. We can't own anyone.
Mm-mm.
We can walk beside each other. We can share things, but
Yes,
we don't own each other, right?
exactly, exactly. And I think that once we start feeling, there again, feeling, we need to feel how wonderful it is to know that we are following our own heart's desire, that we are genuine, that we are available to assist people in their journeys by the inspiration, by the uplifting, and not try to fill that or have a void where we need something to stuff in there, because we're just we've got it to
Yeah.
be able to give.
And that is coming to another point here that's interesting too, neediness. So when we have the search outside of ourselves for love, the fulfillment, right?
Hmm.
We become needy. And to be honest, who really wants a needy person? Most people, when asked, they don't feel drawn to someone that is needy. But it's very common in our world. And I don't mean it with judgment, right? I just say it out of trying to think a little bit beyond. Because when you say or state that you need someone in your life, that is something we need to think about. Now I said need, but there's a difference with need, right?
Yes. It in a way, it's actually giving away your self power
Yes, it is.
um, to anything, whether it's a diet, whether it's a teacher, whether it's a thought system, and blocking everything else out. It's kind of like watching a movie in one dimension and you're missing three dimension. You're missing all these other things that are happening by isolating ourselves, that we need that person or we need that thing. And when you when you realize that everything you need is within, you just have to tap into it. And
Exactly.
and then you can find the companion to go along with it, which makes it even bigger and better. But people that are with needy people, after a while, that gets to be very boring, and they go, um, I'm moving on because this is getting too much responsibility. So,
Yeah, yeah. But it's less search outside for fulfillment, happiness, peace, and everything. That all we need to do is go within.
mhm.
And it is easy indeed to say it is. And it is a process. And it's never too late to
It's
start.
never, never, never too late. Never too late. Um, I wrote something for this week. Would you like me to read it?
Yes, please.
Okay, I have to read it because when it comes, I write it down and then I forget it. Okay. Loving yourself is a gift from within. Finding yourself is where to begin. The hope that the present comes from the past and brings a blessing, and then let it pass. The gift we hold so deep and safe is waiting to be shared for all so they will find their place. A place to explore ourselves and to expand is humanity. There we go. Humanity's only hope to rebound. As we accept our self love with all its grace, we allow all others to find their place. First is the love of self to begin to fill, and then from that love into the world it will spill. As a community of love, our blessing increases. From hate and sorrow, our world releases. Into the flow of the love so dear, our love begins the healing for all to hear. I bless myself for this grand acceptance and to always do my best, letting go of the past and creating the rest. Self love is the goal I see in sight. I share my love with all of my might.
Oh, beautiful.
So, this is a beautiful place to be because that just makes you so much larger, so much more to give. And when you're out sharing this love and inspiration with others, we don't have time for anger and hate and differences because we only see the beautiful color of the wings of the butterfly.
Exactly.
Yes.
And people tend to fear that, okay, if I am going to change, I made up my mind, right? So I'm going to embark on the journey, loving myself, and that's going to bring change. What about all these people in my life then? And this is a common question too.
It,
But yeah, you know what I say. If they are not supporting you on your journey to finding self-love, maybe you need to consider, are they really a match for you to be with?
it's interesting. We we will change what we think we look good in, and we will change our outfits, and then we will do a different style and everything else. And we do not have any problem saying, okay, I need to give that to Goodwill. I need to do this with that. And yet we think that the relationship, you don't throw away relationships. I'm not inferring that. I'm
Mm.
saying maybe we outgrow them and they don't fit anymore. So trying to make it fit and trying to make you fit into a situation, nobody's happy.
No,
So moving on and gently releasing what we think that relationship was or is. And there again, always bless what you leave, because it brought you to here, and it's given you experiences that you wouldn't have had you not had that experience. So bless it and then
yeah,
let it go.
yeah. And you know, the beautiful thing with self-love is going to bring you peace, joy, happiness, and you're not going to be alone. You will
Never.
attract others who are maybe at the same level as you are at that stage of your life, right?
And that's the beauty. But if you don't let the light out of the lighthouse, nobody's going to see it.
Exactly. Not even the wings. And
Nope.
by the way, thank you so much for your beautiful poem. You are exceptional with your poems.
Well, I just write them down as they come. So um, that is that is I'm just listening to what the universe is saying. I just happen to have a hand that loves to write. What can I say? And if they keep talking to me, then I'll keep writing.
That's brilliant. Um, it is actually not as complicated as it might feel. And remember, everyone, it's a journey, right? So be kind to yourself and be acceptive. Accept yourself. And we are going to, just like kids, we try something out and we may fall one time, two times, three times. But we brush off our clothes, we rise up again, and we continue.
Yeah. And
There's
you
nothing as strong as the soul and spirit within.
and you've got to really laugh. You've got to recognize that this is really funny, and let out that belly laugh and enjoy it, and then move on. But laughter is, oh, that's just what gets you through life, you know?
Exactly. And I want to say something else as well. It's about having humor because on the other side, they have a tremendous amount of humor,
Oh,
funny
yes.
humor. Yes. And I love that. And sometimes we take ourselves a little bit maybe too serious. We take everything here seriously. What if
Ah,
this is just like taking a trip here? And this is not really the real reality and the real home. Maybe that is on the other side. What about that?
well, I've been many, many places in many, many lifetimes, and uh, this one existence here, it gives you the opportunity to have that sense of humor, and to develop your patience, and to be understanding with everything around you. So it's a wonderful experience to have, and but like I said, bless that humor.
Sorry. Um, no, they have the most wonderful sense of humor, and I think that's nice because we need to laugh. We need to have see things with the eyes of humor and fun, because some things really are, if we look back after a few years, we can find things hilarious which we maybe at the moment didn't think were that funny, right?
And we're given them constantly. We really are. And as we said, being just a little bit crazy and a lot happy, and it makes a kind of a quite a combination.
So I have a last good question here. What if we are really crazy then? I'm just kidding.
Well, crazy is as crazy does. So
Yes.
I tell you, I'm having a good time, and I think if that's defined as crazy, then I'm just going to hang on the crazy machine and keep on going because this is too much fun.
It is much fun, but it's also, when we realize, I think we touched this with what we have been talking about. If we can detach ourselves a little bit from a very fixed outcome, and we can enjoy our stay here and just take a step at a time, not taking everything too serious. Sometimes everything is not in our hands either. For instance, like molding someone else into fitting into something we want them to be, right? That's kind of something that's going to be not possible if they don't want to, because everyone can change, but they need to be willing to do it. And it's a journey for them too, right? Doesn't mean they're going to fit just like that. But if we can just take a step at a time, not being afraid, releasing fear, because there's really nothing to be afraid of. If we look at what we think we fear, um, there's really nothing to be afraid of.
Well,
And we have our response. That's our power. That's our personal power. Don't give it away, right?
exactly. And it's just like when that man that was going to take me flying, and he said, "Run," and you just run, and then you enjoy, and then you land, and you run again, and then you stop. So taking the leap and allowing yourself the freedom of exploring what could be, and it may not be, and you may change directions because that's the beauty of having your own tapestry, your own symphony, because you are the creator. You're the one taking the strokes. You're the one writing the note. Enjoy it. That's what life is all about. Is the exploration.
Exactly. Is there anything more you would like to add here?
Well, as you know, when we get talking, we could go forever. But I think what is transpiring is each time that we have a subject, it just blends with the other. It's like we're weaving this wonderful story together, and one leads, like I said, leads to the other. And I'm just waiting for the next adventure.
Exactly. And that's going to be next week, right?
Of course.
So I'm wrapping it up a little bit, and then we can, if there's anything we think of, and I know we can keep on talking forever because we just love this. Um, you have been watching Cosmic Guardians with Care'n and Anne. And today we talked about the art of self love and self acceptance, not taking things personally. And like Care'n said, we have been weaving something big here. We intend to be live with you every week on Wednesdays, usually at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 12 noon Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Sweden, and 8 p.m. Greece. And once in a while, but we have no plans right now for at least a few shows ahead to have a pre recorded. We're going to come live. And our next live will be on Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, discussing healing ourselves means healing the earth. We are all connected with Anne and Care'n. And you can follow our Facebook page at facebook.com/Cosmic Guardians. And you can join and follow our group at Cosmic Guardians. No, sorry, facebook.com/groups/Cosmic Guardians. So I think we summed it up, and it's always interesting, and we are almost always going. We actually have a script, we never follow it because it just flows, right? One thing leads to another, it's a chain.
Well, it's our cosmic conversation. It goes where it needs to go.
Exactly, it does. So I say love, light, peace, and joy to all of you. And what do you say, Kareem?
I say love, life, live, and laughter.
Oh, thank you. Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.